So, Professor, you say that women learn like whatever they know. If you can teach something related to that, they
Yep.
learn easily. And you are like you say, you did your school in 70s, and so we have a very huge generational gap. And it I know you are very active, but there are a lot of professors who are old, and there is a big generational gap. So whatever I'm getting from the surrounding now, it might be totally different during that time. So how professor will know what I know and what types of information I have been fed?
So if I'm getting your question correctly, you want to know about some of the faculty who have the big age gap who might
Yeah,
not be giving you what you need.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's what I said before. It's incumbent upon the faculty member to recognize that the world changes and to stay up to date on how the world changes. And I think that what we do in the center is try to provide, at least from a pedagogical standpoint, from a teaching standpoint, knowledge about the changes in the particular ways that we help students acquire knowledge. It's hard to stay up on your own field. Psychology alone has dozens and dozens of journals that get published every day, and I can't read everything. And so I think that we're in a position now where, with the huge proliferation of knowledge, people need to be aware that um, you don't have to change everything that you do because of all the changes in the world, but you have to be aware, acknowledge, and do some things to help students feel more comfortable. I mean, I think it's interesting when I go in and I see a faculty member in a jacket and tie lecturing, and the students are not paying attention at it. And I want to say to them, you've lost your students from the moment they walked in, versus a class where I go in and the faculty members engaged in sitting with the students or moving around the room or something. Those are two, they're both called teaching, but they're very different things.
Okay. So, Professor, you are the instructor of student and you are also instructor of instructors.
Mhm.
What is the difference? Like, what is the what is the differences that you have seen teaching the student versus teaching faculty?
Faculty are confident in their knowledge, not always confident in their ability to teach. Students are confident in their knowledge of how to learn, but not always confident in the knowledge that they have. And so we're in this weird spot where faculty are trying to fill in gaps for students so that students are able to do things, but students are sometimes resistant because they think they already know it. And so there's a lot of missed opportunities in higher ed to have open conversations with your classes about where you are, where you're going, why you're going that way, and what sorts of guideposts you ought to have. And I think it's because it's hard. It's hard to do that. Like in intro psych, I will be checking in with them every class to see where they are so that I feel comfortable with them. But it takes away a little bit of time every day from me from doing other things. And people have to be aware that there's no perfect system. But if you want to know what your students are doing, you got to ask them more.
Okay, cool. So, Professor, a couple of minutes ago, we were talking about the generational changes. Nowadays, you know, there is a big hype of AI. How
Hmm.
does AI change the way we approach teaching and learning?
So AI is an opportunity, and I think people are missing some of the opportunity. Generative AI is a really slick system that allows people to use a tool to help them think more clearly. It's not designed to replace thinking, at least that's not the way I use it. It's designed to augment, maybe give you perspectives, maybe help you see things in a different way. And yeah, sometimes it'll give me new knowledge, but in general, AI is a really slick tool. And anybody who relies solely on their tool for doing their job creates a condition under which they might be irrelevant at some point. I will always want to be the person who, no matter what my job is, I can do all aspects of my job. Even now, I manage instructional design. I am not a good instructional designer, but if I had to, I've designed courses before. I know how to structure them. I know how to set them up. I know how to do all that. I don't like doing it. I don't want to do it, but I can. And I think that that kind of redundancy is rare. People just have a job. They ride their bikes and they deliver things, or they are on an assembly line, and they don't want to know what other people are doing. But if you're not working together as a team, none of it is working well anyway.
Okay, Professor, you said you can design your course everything, even though without the technology.
Hmm.
So you have done this before, but the
Hmm.
new generation who is coming in teaching, they are starting from the AI. They are starting
Hmm.
from the generative AI. So what do you want to suggest them? Should they also go and do everything by their like hand so that they can be good as you?
I mean, necessarily. I think that what AI is doing is it's offloading some of the things that we used to spend time thinking about. I think in some ways it's going to make people um, be a little bit more clever about the way they do things because AI will get them to a certain point. Like, let's just assume that people start off on the table, and then when they get their degree, they're up here, maybe 4 or 5 inches off the table. But what AI does is it elevates that 10 to 15 inches off the table. Now, when you want to do something else, you got to go above that. So you have to think about how AI is impacting our students and what it's doing and what they're doing with it and what as a faculty member you're doing with it and how are you conveying that you're doing that and how are you getting from your students that this is happening and is it replacing the learning you want your students to do or is it not? If it's replacing the learning you want your students to do, well, don't do it. If it isn't, though, what do you care?
So I want to share a meme with you. Yeah, I saw somewhere. Nowadays, professor create the question with AI. A student answer the question with AI. Professor check the answer with AI.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what do you think about this? How far is it correct, true? Where do you see?
So yeah, I think it's happening. And that last part, I really don't like when faculty use AI to check answers. They don't do that. Um, but I think that it's one of those sort of caricatures of what's happening. Our students use it, but they don't want to admit it. And we want to believe that students don't, but they do. And we also don't have any checkers that are reliable. And I actually talk to faculty about this who want to buy an AI checker and tell them don't bother. They can't keep up with the bots. They'll never keep up with the bots. And so the AI checkers are always by default going to be poorly constructed and not right. And so when faculty, they talk about what's going to happen with AI, the reality is, we don't know. Students can write, we can grade, but it's better if the students write it themselves and we grade it ourselves. And when I say ourselves, I don't mean you don't use tools. I use tools for all kinds of stuff, but rather you know what your students are producing for work. You know how good a student they are. You know what their writing is like. The second we don't know that, we're just tutors. We're not faculty anymore.
Professor, what will you say to or what advice you will give to the me or a student like me? Whenever I write something and I wrote my, for example, if I need to write an essay, I will write the essay and then again I will give ChatGPT and say just write clearly. It will write in a way that I will feel this is perfect.
Mhm.
So from next time, even I will not have a kind of courage in myself that I will write it. AI can write in very less time and better than what I am thinking. So, and this is why a lot of students are getting the victim of AI. So, what do you want to say? What do you want to say to me and the people like me?
So I feel pretty strongly about this. If the AI is replacing the learning you're supposed to be doing, you shouldn't do it. If it's smoothing your paper because of a language issue, I don't have any problem with it. I think that's where faculty and I disagree. And it's one of those things that I think is going to be really important is that faculty are going to have to be much more intentional about what they're getting their students to do and why they're getting them to do that and not worry so much. Like I have faculty for years worried about APA style on a paper. I don't care about APA style because I'm much more interested in the content. And so if the paper is an APA style paper, then I care about it. But if it's about the content, why do I care about APA style? I think faculty have to, we're going to get to a point where faculty are going to have to do those kinds of, they make those kinds of decisions and think about what do I really want to get out of this? What am I really trying to get to see that my student may or may not be able to do? Once you have that answer, then you have a better idea of what you're looking for. Instead of just globally giving them points off because you don't like the fact that they used an Oxford comma, which by the way, long live the Oxford comma.
Professor, I have seen you use a lot of AI. Even the last time we talked about the notebook LLM,
Yep.
you make the podcast from there. So, from your point of view, where do you see the education and learning thing in coming 5 years? The way AI is improving, what in the future do you see?
So there's AI is used in different ways. Let's talk about from a faculty perspective. I think from a faculty perspective, AI is going to allow faculty some time to offload some of the tasks that were mundane and typical and give them more of a time to think about what it is they want to teach. Students need to be careful because it shouldn't replace the learning, but it should support the learning. And so I think faculty need to be clear about what it is they want their students to be able to do, what they want their students to be able to generate on AI, and how they want to, and they need to explain how they want their students to walk out with some kind of knowledge or skill. So the students don't just think it's, oh, my professor's just being a jerk. this is what they want me to be able to do, and I can do it if I don't do this or if I do this. I think there's a transparency and an openness and a meta about this. It's really important, and I don't think we're there yet because faculty, at least a lot of our faculty, want to catch students doing it, and I don't want to catch anybody doing anything.
Professor, you are on the podcast, and if I will not, if me and the audience cannot get some tips, great tips to teach the class or learn the class, I think it will be injustice. So I want to ask, what are some practical tips faculty can use to make their class more engaging, more productive?
So what can faculty do?
Faculty.
Show some enthusiasm, draw more examples. Don't worry so much about covering all the content. Mix up what you do in class. So if you're going to talk all one class, the next class, you should talk for less than 50% of that class. You should have some other activity or some other thing for the students to do. Be a little unpredictable about the way you structure your class. Not in terms of assignments and due dates. You can do whatever you want depending on your level of comfort with that, but be intentionally creative in how you present and how you structure and how you organize so that you are in it more than just running it without any kind of thought. It looks like it's automatic pilot. So, for example, if I'm teaching intro psych next semester, I think this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to start every class with a little snippet of a song that relates to the topic we're talking about and ask the students if they can identify the song or what we're talking about and then move on. It'll take me 2 minutes in class, but what it will do is it'll get my students thinking about something more than just the content at the beginning of class. I think faculty need to be more creative in those kinds of ways.
So I think this is very interesting thing. Like when you say, I think I would love to be in that types of class, and every faculty want to do this. What are the thing? What do you think? Why faculty are not able to? Because everyone, the way you say that, be a little bit unpredictable, that make class more exciting. Why the professor are not being able to do this? Because everyone want to make the class more interesting, more engaging.
I don't think all faculty care about that,
Oh,
but I also think that faculty, it's hard work, and faculty feel like it's not who they are, so they can't do it, or they feel like they're uncomfortable. They feel like the students' expectations of their behavior is too high. There's all kinds of reasons. Um, and I tell faculty, and I had this happen, like I'll show faculty members a particular strategy for teaching, and they love it, and then they do it every class. Well, the students are done after 3 times. So you have to be really sort of aware and stay ahead of what's happening in your class so that the students don't feel overwhelmed, but they also don't feel like it's a routine completely.
Professor, you say all faculty do not want to do that, then a question came to my mind. So in Nepal, the place where I can go, mostly the people like like if you do the survey out of 100 professor or teacher, you will find like less than 10 people, 10% people really wanted to become the teacher from the beginning. But when they, for example, if someone is engineer, if they do not get job, they go for the teaching. This is the trend in the developing country. What is the trend in United States?
Well, you see a lot of that here too, but faculty jobs are hard to get. So I think that it's a mixed bag here. We have a bunch of faculty who couldn't get other jobs and they're here, but we have a lot of faculty. This is a career choice. This was an intentional career choice for me. This is what I wanted to do. I've written books, I've published. Don't care as much about that as that I care about the one-on-one with students, the classroom behavior, all of that. And I think that you have to talk to faculty about what's their intention, what do they want to do, and why are they here, and what are their goals, and how are they helping the students meet those goals.
Professor, what are the few strategies a student can apply to excel in the school?
A few strategies.
Yeah.
So, first, study a little each night for every subject you have. 30 minutes for each subject you have. Just a little bit. Touch it, touch your content as much as you can. Every night, Monday through Thursday. Take Friday and Saturday off, I don't care. But touch the content every day so you know what's going on. Think about how that content is going to help lead you to where you want to go next. Use use what's called spaced learning as an approach. Spaced learning means you spread your learning out. You don't feel like you're making progress, but by the end of the week you make progress. And so I did this when I was in college. I had 5 or 6 books, I remember how many. And every night I would spend 40 minutes on each class in the library and then take a 20-minute break between. And I did that Monday through Thursday. I never did it on Friday. Saturday I did it sometime during the day. Sunday I did it usually in the evening, but sometime during the day. That's all I studied. I never crammed. I never spent any more time studying. That level of intensity over the course of a semester was enough for me. I didn't have to do anything.
Wait, Professor, what did you say? Like, you said 30 minutes or 45 minutes?
You could do 30 minutes.
30 minutes. So 30 minutes every subject?
Mhm.
And what you are suggesting us to read? What the professor is going to teach tomorrow, or what he teach yesterday? What are the things we need to
So
do?
I think it doesn't matter. It's that you stay in contact with the course. So one of the things I tell students is, let's say you're in a course like a statistics course. Every night for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, practice problems from your statistics class so you know how to do it. Or think about what the definitions mean and write it down, or read the book. But your 30 to 40 minutes are devoted to that class for that amount of time, just so you're touching that content every day. The more you do that, the less you cram, the less time you have to spend staying up all night studying, and the better you tend to do because you've seen the content over so many different days. It's now much more part of what you know about the world versus it's just something that you have to learn.
Okay, that's interesting. So what will you say, for example, sometime if we are doing and 1 week we got the for example 1 week we were not able to do. Next week, do we need to cover what happened in the back, or we can just go with that?
You never, there's no imperative for any of this stuff. You just sort of do what makes sense, but also know that faculty should be telling you what you should know and how you should know it. And if they are, then the studying becomes just like your one of your courses that's content based. Think about the instructors highlighting what's important content. If they're quizzing you on that, then great. If they're not, then you know they're only giving you a little bit, and then you have to spend more time in your book. But just pay attention to what's happening and think about, because they're not asking you questions that don't exist. They're asking you questions you don't know. That's very different. And so if they ask you a question you don't know, then you got to think about how can I know that. If they ask you a question you don't know, you got to just move on because you don't know it. And I get this sometimes. Like I do a lot of work for the college board on like SATs and stuff like that. I get questions sometimes like I don't know the answer. I just don't. I could Google it if you want me to, but I don't know the answer. But a lot of them I do. And so you have to be comfortable in who you are and how you're navigating this stuff too.
Yeah, Professor, any final suggestion or word of wisdom for the faculty and student?
Uh, Education is designed to be a job. I would love to have as my legacy that people see not only the value in education, but the joy, the utter joy of learning and how that contributes to a richer life. So I would love to have people be able to suspend their own needs for a moment, focus on learning something, and then spending a little bit of time after they've learned that thing to enjoy knowing what it is, how it works, and be sort of okay in that moment rather than rushing through content just to remember it. I think that it's a shame that we've done this in education. We've created students who are um, present centric and they want their grades immediately. And all they do is look at the grades, they don't look at what they've learned. And that leads to dissatisfaction. You want to know not only what your grade was, but that you learned something that's valuable. So, my advice, find something you love and do that.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Hakala, for joining us in the podcast. It was great having you on the podcast, and thank you for sharing so many great tips for the faculty, for the even the student. And I think there are a lot of great takeaway for me from this podcast, and I'm sure there will be a lot of great takeaway for the our audience who are going to watch this podcast. Thank you for coming to the podcast.
Thanks, Mirage. It was a pleasure. It was great talking to you. And hopefully, I know I talk a lot. Hopefully, I had good stuff to say. And I just appreciate you as a student and as a person. I feel really fortunate to be a part of this with you because I think you're doing great work. So, thank you.
Thank you, Professor.